Welcome everyone, it's great to see you all here today. There's not many of us here tonight, only a small crowd, but we can live with that. So, did anyone travel through a bit of rain like I did on the way to get here? It's a bit raining out there. So anyway, we're in Sydney, so I'm sure this is the best event we're ever going to do. I don't see too many people agreeing with me, but anyway, we'll see how we go. Okay, what I'll do is I'll rip my watch off here so we stay on time. For those of you who like things that are organised and perfectly on time, that's not going to happen. I'm going to do the best I can, but it's just not going to happen. I'm not that organised. So what I want to do first, for the first few minutes, I'm just going to explain who I am, what I do, and what brought us to this Self-Defense Masterclass program. And what I'm going to be doing as we go through, I'm going to be flicking through my notes. Not that I just need to stay a little bit on track, otherwise we could be here for a very long time. So just to introduce myself, we all know my name's Greg Mackay. Without getting too involved, I started training martial arts, fighting arts. I actually trained boxing first when I was 15 years old. So I'm, what am I, 58 today, so you work that out. It's been a very long time. So I have a little bit of knowledge, and I'm sure that tonight we'll be able to impart some of that for you guys. So I see a couple of you there that have done some training before. I spoke to some of you earlier and that you did a little bit of training before. That's fantastic. I haven't spoken to all of you obviously about that, but we hopefully as the night goes on we'll talk a little bit more and go from there. So I'm sure that if you've trained a little bit or trained a lot, there's something in our presentation tonight or my presentation tonight that you'll get something from. So so as I said, I've been training for well over 40 years. In that time I've trained a number of different systems. I get out from behind this thing and don't like standing behind there. So I've trained a number of different systems. Not completed them all, but I've done a number of different systems and a lot of training and a lot of hours. And over the last long period of time, and I've been teaching for about 25 years, I found that most of what I learned doesn't work. I don't know whether it was a privilege or a blessing or a problem, but I at one time was dealing with some very bad people, we'll call them bad people for want of a better word, and they taught me some amazing things that I thought I was very good at what I trained. I've done all these different types of training. I was competition kickboxing, I was bouncing, running security at different organisations, nightclubs and that. And then I got to run with had some associations with some people that were very not so nice people, and I was put into a number of situations that had to call on what I had trained, and in a number of cases I had to struggle to make what I had trained work when I actually believed that it was easy and I knew everything and there was no problem. So that made me question, why did I struggle with something I thought I was very good at? And then the more I looked at it, the more I pulled out fighting arts apart, I established and worked out that most of it was in the training and the mindset and the teachers and instructors I had. They were all good teachers and instructors, but they had limited knowledge, if you will, of looking at what really works in the real world when life depends on it. It's all right training in a confined environment where it's a nice training center, a nice dojo, and we're all friends and we do a technique and I do this and you do that and we say sorry every time we hurt each other and we're good friends and we're going to have a beer afterwards, everything's cruisy and everything works. But my challenge is when you're training and everything is working in this nice controlled environment, let's take it out there. It's wet, it's dark, it's raining, and the guy's going to kill you. Does what you've trained in a nice, happy environment work when someone's going to kill you? And I want you to think about that, because if you were like me, I found out that I only thought it did. But if you really search deep down, I believe that most people that train always question their ability, and I found out the hard way that most things don't work because of the way we were taught and the way the training system was. So I'm not knocking anyone's training or system. I will always support and look up to everyone who does training because you put your time and effort into that. The question I'm looking at is, does what you do work? Okay, so I set about trying to find out what worked and what didn't work. But most of the time it wasn't what didn't work. I wanted to find systems that when you actually train something, what works when it works. And what I found was there's a few common points that in every training system I've seen around the world or looked at, and I've traveled a lot around different parts of the world, and I've trained many systems, and I've probably seen over 100 different training centers, at least 100 different training centers in the last 25 years. And I've walked in, and most systems I can walk in and within 60 seconds walk out again and say they can't give me very much at all. And the reason being is they are fundamentally flawed. So what I was looking for is when something works, why does it work? And in every system I've ever seen, at certain times, what is trained works. So what I wanted to find was the common denominator, that when something works in reality, why does it work and what is it? So what I've created over the last 25 years is I've developed a system of training that has pulled the best out of every system I've ever seen and pulled the techniques that work all the time and put them together. So now we've got something that actually works in a reality situation. So that's a real quick nutshell of my background. What we'll be doing as the next hour and a half rolls on, we'll be getting to know a little bit more about why I say what I say and what's behind what I say. And as we're going through, I have no problem if somebody pops their hand up and pops their hand up, I don't care if you yell it out to me. Throw a question at me, because at the end of the day, I'm more than happy to answer the questions, and so long as you're happy to ask the question and aren't going to get upset about my answer, because I will be truthful with you, but by all means, throw the questions out as we go through. Okay, so what I'll do now is just go through a couple of minutes and just give you a quick overview of what we're going to go through tonight over the next hour or so, hour and a half. Okay, firstly, we're going to go through some myths and some facts about the training programs. There's many myths, I can't say that word. There's many myths and facts about the training, and I'm going to expose those. So what's a myth and what's actually a fact? Some of us think myths are actually for real, okay? And then we're going to look at what's the truth and what's false. There's a difference between true and false and myths and facts. So we're going to explore that, and we won't spend a lot of time on that, but we will go through that. And then I'm going to explain why we're different, why what I train is different, and there's many points I've got there as to why what I'm teaching you is different. I won't go into them now, we'll wait till we get to there, but we're going to go through what's different about us. I'm going to explain limiting beliefs, and as I know, limiting beliefs is something very interesting that is one of our biggest problems. We all limit what we think, which limits how far we can take something and whether we really have the ability we have trained to do. You can have all the greatest technique in the world, but if you don't believe you're capable of using it, you may as well go dancing. So we'll talk about the limiting beliefs a bit later on. I'm going to give you some basic control techniques. So we'll actually maybe work with this one-on-one. I'll have Mitch up. Mitch is my son, he's over here. He will help us through doing some of the demonstrations a little bit later on. So we'll do some demonstrations, and anybody else wants to get a bit involved, I'm going to actually teach you tonight a couple of basic techniques to take control of situations. Don't react to situations. So we'll go through that. We're also going to have a prize draw tonight. I'm actually going to give away a prize, which is a $500 training program. So one of you lucky guys here, there's only a few of us here, so one of you lucky guys here will take home a 3-month, $500 training program, and we'll go through that a little bit later on. I've also got another series of techniques. We're going to do 2 different types of techniques tonight, one-on-one, and we'll also have a question and answer time, and then I'll summarize everything we've talked about, and you'll be able to specifically at the end, as I've said, ask whatever questions you want as the night goes on, but at the end, I will have a question and answer time specifically for the questions that you might have kept to the end, and we can go through those, and we'll go through that. And that's pretty much it. We'll go through the question and answers. Most importantly, I want everyone to have fun. It's all about having a bit of fun here, and if we can all take something out of here. And for me, I believe I have something to give you, but the bottom line is we all left our egos at the door. We're all here to learn something from each other. So, okay, let's move on, and we'll all have a bit of fun.